Hello everyone. Welcome to the first session today. And we're gonna dive into XM Cloud Forms. So a new form builder from Sitecore, and we're gonna try to answer the question, is it a game changer or troublemaker? I've been playing around with this tool for a while, so I will be sharing my experience and my observations. And hopefully, at the end, it would give you some understanding whether your XM Cloud Forms can be a good fit for your current or next XM Cloud project. Before we start, just a few words about me. I'm Szymon. I'm a lead software engineer at EPAM, and I've been working with Sitecore for over 8 years. And this is almost whole my career as a developer. And if you want to keep in touch, you can find me on LinkedIn. All right, so let's see our agenda for today. So we're gonna start with a quick history lesson on Sitecore, on a form solution in Sitecore to kind of set up the stage. Then I will describe what actually XM Cloud Form is and how it differs from previous form solutions. Then I will walk you through around the core and the most interesting features of XM Cloud Forms. Then we'll move on to the webhooks and also Sitecore Connect, which will be useful later during the demo, where I showcase you how you can easily create forms and then integrate them into a wider ecosystem. Lastly, we'll talk about all the limitations that are there, and we'll try to wrap it up and finally answer the question, is it a game changer or troublemaker? Cool. So let's start with a bit of history. Sitecore has come a long way when it comes to forms solutions. Like before 2009, there was no dedicated form solution at all. So it's all about custom form development. So it of course involved a lot of manual coding, and there's no flexibility at all. So that's why in 2009, we saw the introduction of infamous web form for marketers. And it was a step forward, right? Because now marketers and non-technical people could actually build the forms on their own. However, the developer support was heavily needed to tweak the forms, time the form, working on the performance, and so on. So along the way, we were given the support for MVC in 2014. And I believe a year or two later, it was when I had a chance to work with this module for the first time. And I can say that all I remember was dealing with some styling issues for days. So the product was far from ideal. I bet many of you may share this view as well. So we waited 3 years, and together with Sitecore 9, the Sitecore Experience Forms came about. And here, the forms became a part of the whole product, of the core product, right, of the XP. And we were given a lot of improvements, like better performance, like nicer UI, some drag and drop features, and so on. Yeah, also the forms were much better documented. And I can say from experience that working with experience forms were far better than with WFFM. Yeah, so as the world moved to the headless, we seen the introduction of GSS React forms. They were just about the headless and JavaScript. And then in 2022, we were given embedded forms. So yeah, they brought even more flexibility, because with them, we could put the form on any, even non-Sitecore page. And this year, finally, we saw the introduction of XM Cloud Forms. So yeah, let's talk about them in more details. So when Sitecore launched XM Cloud, there was no built-in support for forms. So for some time in 2023, when you needed the form, when you needed a form in XM Cloud, you had to rely on some third party, right? But of course, Sitecore knows the forms are important, so they stepped in and create their own solution. And this is how basically XM Cloud Forms came about. So in short, this is like a no-code SaaS product dedicated to designing forms. And the key difference from previous form solution is that it runs independently, right? So it's completely decoupled from Sitecore. So meaning we do not have access to databases, we do not have access to content delivery servers, obviously, because it's XM Cloud. With a one exception though, that has been added like a month ago, that right now actually we can pick an image from media library of the associated XM Cloud instance, but it kind of doesn't break this composable architecture here because there is no strong reference. We just get the image from the XM Cloud instance and put it into XM Cloud Forms. Yeah, what's also important here is that we will not write any code for submit actions. So there is no C# at all, and instead we are going to use webhooks, and it's up to them where we're gonna put and store the data. Yeah, we'll talk about webhooks a bit later. And another interesting thing about this product is that it's completely independent of experience forms, but instead it's built on Sitecore Send forms builder. So this is the product that was previously known as Musent. And so if you ever work with Sitecore Send form builder, you will see a lot of similarities. Cool, so now I've got a couple of slides that will just showcase like the core features of XM Cloud Forms, and we'll then see them during the demo. Okay, so yeah, probably the first thing you need to focus when designing a form is the layout, so the overall structure of the form. And in the XM Cloud Forms, it's all about dragging and dropping. So it comes with like those 6 predefined variations. And we have the full width, half width, 3 columns, 4 columns, and so on. You can just drag them onto the canvas and use. You don't need actually to write any CSS code or add in any bootstrap classes. They just work. You've got a bunch of settings available there that you can just set in the editor. And the 2 limitations actually is that you can't nest those layouts, and also you can't create your own, like from the code perspective. We need to live with those 6, which from my testing should be more than enough to create basically any structure you want. Okay, so assuming we have the layout, we'd like to put some content there, right? So there are like 3 types of fields actually. They are called items, but please do not confuse them with Sitecore items. The name is just confusing. These are basically the elements of the form that you can put on the form, right? And so we have the field items. So these are the items that the user can interact with. And there's like a wide variety of those. The one that you would expect, like buttons, checkboxes, and numeric fields, but also a few interesting ones like term and condition checkbox or reCAPTCHA. And for those, you can prefill some values, you can adjust some styling if you want, you can add some validation using regex. And yeah, then we have a basic items. So these are like decoration items, like images, spacers, and texts. And lastly, the custom items. So these are the items that you kind of create using this editor. But you want to then reuse them for later or in different forms, so you can just save them. So custom doesn't mean that we have availability, we can create them from the code perspective. It's just the fields that we style, add validation, and then we want to reuse them later. Cool. But of course, we don't want to style each element separately. We would rather have some kind of on-branding styling that we can apply to the set of forms. So it can be achieved in XM Cloud Forms in two ways, either with visual styles or CSS styles. And visual styles, with visual styles, you will use the tool called Style Builder. So this is like no-code tool where you can just select and adjust any style you want. Whereas CSS styles, this is just a CSS editor, so you can write your CSSs here. What's nice about this is that you can actually start using the style builder, and then if you need to tweak CSS more, you can switch to the CSS editor. But the gotcha is that you can't go back. So, or actually you can, but your styles will be your custom styles will be erased. Okay. Another nice feature that I would just want to quickly mention is the multi-page support. So yeah, this is just the way to split forms into like pages, and you can have up to 10 pages within a single form. What's also nice about it is that the action buttons will automatically fit the page. So if you add a second page, the submit button will pop up on this last page, and the submit button, and on the first page you will see the next button. So it's kind of it's done automatically. Also, there's some kind of auto validation for a couple of fields. So if you try to put reCAPTCHA on the first page, you will get an error that you can't do this. Okay, another feature that was added a bit later after the release was the conditional logic. So it allows you to display some fields based on the user input. And yeah, you can use the predefined set of rules that are available here and create like logical groups using and or operators. It works pretty nice, but there's one big limitation in my view, that it doesn't work on page level. So we can do it only for fields, but can't do it for pages. So yeah, that's a pity, and hopefully Sitecore will address it in the future releases. Cool. Yeah. So template library. So XM Cloud Forms includes template library where you can find like some pre-configured templates. As of now, there are probably 5 or 6 of them. So these are the templates that Sitecore provides, and this is like a great starting point. So when you want to try this tool and play it a bit, it's a great place to start. And yeah, you can also add some forms to the template library, so your custom forms to the template library very easily, and then they are shared either in your XM Cloud environment, XM Cloud environment, or the whole organization. So if you want to share across different XM Cloud environments across the organization, you can do this as well. Cool. Okay, so yeah, so assuming we've done with building our form, styling, adding some condition logic, now probably we want to configure where our data will be stored, right? So this is where the webhooks come into the picture. So what webhook is? So the definition says that this is like the HTTP callback that triggers an event in one application and sends the data to the other application. So when this event occurs, like in our example, that will be the submit action, the submission of the form, right? The webhook just sends the HTTP post with a payload to the given URL. Yeah. So one important thing is that in XM Cloud Forms there is no dedicated database to store the data or any other storage, right? So it's up to we are just going to set up a webhook, and we're going to transfer this data to whatever system we actually need, and it's up to that system to handle that data. Yeah, so you may ask, why did Sitecore go with webhooks? Because like in previous form solution, we have like the dedicated database for submissions and so on. And the answer is quite easy, because now in XM Cloud world, let's say, there is not such a thing like web database, right? There is not such a thing like content delivery. So that means actually we don't have a storage for it. So I believe Sitecore made a smart decision to, so instead like locking us into like specific storage system, I'm sorry, they gave us a flexibility. So it's up to us where we're gonna put this data. Yeah, another advantage of this is that is compliance, because as we do not store any XM Cloud forms, do not store any data in XM Cloud forms, we are always on the right side when it comes to like legal regulations. Cool. I'm just gonna very quickly want to highlight Sitecore Connect. I know this tool is around for a while, so probably many of you already use it, but we're gonna use it during our demo. So just a reminder that this is like a low-code, no-code integration platform. It's simple words. It solves like the common problem of getting many systems work together without writing almost any code. So yeah, here in Sitecore Connect, we are building so-called recipes, which are like automation workflows with some kind of trigger and then the actions that will follow. And yeah, there are over 5,000 pre-built connectors for basically any system you can think of. So you are pretty covered with everything. Cool. So yeah, we're gonna start with our demo. And the business requirement for our demo is to create a sign up to newsletter form for Sitecore travel agency website. Yeah, I hope you appreciate the Sitecore logo. ChatGPT generated. There should be a reference to Sitecore somewhere, but yeah. Yeah, and this form will consist of 4 fields, like name, email, traveler type, and dream destination. And we're gonna add some condition logic here, so that only once traveler type will be selected, the dream destination will show up to the user. Yeah, and then after the submission, we're gonna perform some actions that we're gonna define in Sitecore Connect. So we're gonna save this form submission data into Google Sheet, and then we send personalized ChatGPT generated welcome email to the user. And here's the system diagram of this simple solution and the steps that we're gonna perform. So first, we just create the form in XM Cloud Forms, and yeah, I will give you an overview of how this tool looks like. Then we set up a webhook, and we are going to do this with help of Sitecore Connect. Then we put the form on the page, so on our XM Cloud instance. Then we go ahead and perform all the actions in Sitecore Connect. And at the end, we'll just submit the form and test the whole workflow. So I'm gonna quickly log into my Sitecore Cloud. Okay, and I'm here. So as you can see, there is no XM Cloud Forms icon here, even though I said this is like independent app, right? And this is because as of now, XM Cloud Form is only available through XM Cloud license. So that's why if you want to access it, you need to click on the XM Cloud, and then there's nice quick link here for forms. Alternatively, you can go to your XM Cloud instance and go to the dashboard, which is now called Tools, and access the forms the same way as we did in previous form solutions like Experience Forms and so on. Okay, so let's access the forms for the first time. And here we are on the main forms dashboard. So here's where you can create and manage your forms. It has nice built-in search functionalities here. So if you can like search by name, then you can filter by status. And here the word about statuses. Like we've got 3 statuses for forms here: draft, inactive, and active. And draft, this is the form that misses some valid information, like there is no webhook associated or there is no design. So this is basically the form that we just started working on. Inactive state is the form that has all this required information, but it hasn't been activated. And the active form is the form that we actually manually activated, and we'll do this a bit later. And only active forms are the ones that are available in pages and component applications. So these are so only active forms you can actually get and put onto the page in XML instance. Cool. Then we have we can categorize forms by labels, and then there is not archive and archived switch. Okay, and this not archived and archived switch is quite interesting once. It was added like 2 or 3 months ago, I believe. And before it was introduced, we actually couldn't delete any active form. So once you activate the form, it will be always here. You can't edit it, you can't remove it. And it's still the same. Like you can't remove the active form. You can only like archive. You can only archive it. So this is the way of removing the form, removing the active form. Other forms like draft and inactive you can easily delete if you want. But the active is archived, and this is like a bit strange architectural decision. But who knows? Maybe there's some logic behind it. Cool. Yeah, so what else will we have here? We have some settings, like the preview settings. If you want to preview the form, you can do this. Also, we can see the webhook that is being added to this form. There's also support for some bulk operation. If you want to archive all our forms, you can do this as well. Cool, so I'm gonna very quickly walk through the webhooks and styles dashboard as well. So webhooks is basically the same listing pages, but for the webhooks, it's simple. We can see the statuses, which are used and which are not used, and we can create webhook from there. There are 3 authentication type available: basic, API key, and OAuth 2. For the styles, I already mentioned styles during the presentation, so I just show you how it looks like. We've got the style builder, so this is this no-code tool for stylings, each field that are available in XM Cloud Forms, and you can switch to CSS editor if you want, and just showcase your CSS skills. Cool. So let's go back to the dashboard and let's create our form for Sitecore Travel Agency. Okay, so I'm going to create the form. I'm going to name it Site Explore, sorry, Explore. Site Explore. And right away we land on the main canvas. And Sitecore gives us a hint that we should start building our form with a layout. So let's do this. We can basically grab whatever we want and put it here. Yeah, but for our simple use case, the full width will work just fine. So I'm going to delete it. So these were the layouts, and here we have the items tab. And yeah, we need 4 fields here. So the one for name, which will be just the short text, the one for email, and we have the dedicated type for email field, then the select field for type traveler, and the last one gonna be the dream destination. So this is the field that we're gonna show based on the type traveler being selected. So yeah, so as you can see, if I hover over those fields, I will see this bluish, like highlighted area. And everything inside this blue, in this highlighted area, if you click on it, it's editable. So on the right panel that you see after clicking on it. So we can so there are a lot of properties that you can basically set. So we're gonna change the label right away to the name. We're gonna remove this placeholder text because we don't need it, and the help text as well. And the important settings that I need to highlight is the name. This is because it needs to be unique and it needs to be meaningful. As you can see, there is like auto-generated name for me. And why it needs to be unique and meaningful? Because this is going to be the key property of the JSON payload that we're going to send to the receiving system. So we want it to be like meaningful, because so that the receiving system knows what's in this property. So for us, it's going to be just name. So a lot of names. Yeah, and I do the same for email. I will just set the email for a name. I will remove the placeholder, remove the help text, and I will move forward with our traveler type. So the type, and the name will be type. And this is the selection field. So I need to define the values. I already prepared some, so I don't waste typing. So we're gonna have adventure seeker, culture lover, and family traveler. So these are the values that will be presented to the user, and the same values will be sent to the third-party system. If you want to customize it so that different values are being sent, so we can just switch these custom values and pass different values that are going to be sent via webhook if we need some IDs, for example, or so on. But in our case, it's fine to just leave it like this. And the last field, it's going to be dream destination. I'm going to remove placeholder. I'm going to remove the help text. And we're going to make this field hidden because we're going to add some logic a bit later. Cool. Yeah, the one thing that I want to also show you is the option tab. These are you will find a bunch of like general settings here that will apply to the whole form. Maybe the one worth highlighting are the validation messages. So here you can find all the validation message of all the fields that are here. So you can change them. And yeah, also I can show you the multi-page, how it works. So please take a look at the submit button. If I click on add the page, the magic happens, and we have the next button here, and then the submit will land on the second page. For some reasons, it's moved to the right. Okay, and also, yeah, like reCAPTCHA validation. If I try to put it on the first page, I'm gonna see the error that you can't do this. Okay, I will remove the second page. We don't need it, and I will just adjust the submit button. It's the submit button, and I will say join the journey. Cool. Oh, join the journey. Yeah, I'm also, just to make it a bit nicer, I'm gonna add some static text on top, which I already prepared beforehand, which is gonna say, stay updated on the best travel deals. I'm gonna center this and then just make it a little bigger so it's visible. Cool. So we have our forms, and it doesn't take much to create it. I can preview it in different viewpoints. There's a desktop, tablet, mobile, and as you can see, there are 3 fields, which is expected because we hide the dream destination. So let's add some logic. So once the type traveler is being selected, we'll see the dream destination. So you can do this in the logic tab, and it's very simple to do. So I'm gonna just say, get the traveler type, and when it's not empty, I'm going to execute the action, which is show field, and the show field, I would say dream destination. And that's it. I can go back to preview. I can select the traveler type, and I can see the dream destination is there. So cool. We have our simple form working, more or less. So I'm going to move ahead to the main settings. So what we got here? We've got the style. So here's the place where you can actually apply those global styles that we've seen on the styles dashboard if you want. Then you will choose the webhook. And we'll stop here for a while and we will create the webhook. And we're gonna do this using Sitecore Connect, because Sitecore Connect has a really nice guided setup for creating webhooks, and it works pretty cool. So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna open the Sitecore Connect app, and I'm gonna create a new recipe. Just give me a sec. This is my test project, and I'm gonna create new recipe. And let's call it Site Explorer. And our starting point will be trigger from a webhook, because this is what we want to actually achieve, right? We want to trigger some actions after the event, which will be a form submission. So I'm going to start building. And here on the right, I can start the guided setup. So let me click on that. I just need to get it a name, that's form submission. And then if I click next, I get the URL of this webhook, and now Sitecore Connect is waiting for an event. And once the event is shipped here, it will create set up the webhook for me, meaning I will get all the payload and all this data here. So so what we need to do right now, I just need to go back to forms. Then from the manage webhooks, I'm gonna create a new one without any authentication, name Site Traveler, and I'm gonna pass the URL that I just copied from the Sitecore Connect. I'm gonna save it, it's not in use, and then I'm gonna choose it from here. Cool. And actually from this point, I can test this webhook. So I can send some data via this webhook if I want. So I will do this, and hopefully Sitecore Connect will receive that event and set up the webhook on Sitecore Connect side for me. So I'm gonna have Szymon. I will choose the traveler type, which is of course adventure seeker, and the dream destination, let it be Peru. And I will click join the journey. And before it's being submitted, I will see the preview of the payload that I'm going to send to the Sitecore Connect. So you can see all those names are here, and of course, and it looks like I did not change the name for Peru. So this is what I was talking about, that it needs to be unique and meaningful. But let's keep it as it is. We'll know that text 1D231 is going to be our dream destination. So yeah, I'm submitting it. And now I go back to the Sitecore Connect, and as you can see, the event was received. So we see all the headers here associated with this post and the payload, and I've got all those data here on the Sitecore Connect side. So I can set up the webhook, and what it does, it will gather all those information, and I will have the working payload schema here as well that I can use later in other actions. But before we do this, we'll come back to the forms again, and we complete the forms, building our form, and we put it on the page. So, maybe just a few words about what else we have here in the settings, because maybe this is also interesting. So we can set here where the form is being available. Is it available for all sites, or maybe just a few sites in the corresponding XM Cloud instance? Then we can choose the submit action, like the success message. We can set, or we can redirect to the URL. The same with the fail message. All right, so we are all set. So I'm going to save and activate this form, so that it's available for XM Cloud. I've got 3 instructions here, like I can save and activate. This is what we are going to do. Save a version. This is like just saving the version that will be presented here. So if you like to go back to the previous version, you can do this as well, and save as a template. So this is the save that will just send it to the template library so that the form is available for other environments or all environments into the organization. Okay, I'm gonna save and activate. And this is like the wording that says that as soon as you activate your form, you won't be able to edit the design or even delete it. We should add it, but this is the old one because they changed it, and actually you can edit the activated form. So probably they forgot to remove it. Anyway, let's activate it. Yeah, and we see the active form here. This is the Site Explorer. Yeah, so let's put it onto some kind of on the site. I'm gonna go to sites. I'm gonna open my test site, and let's see if it's there. And it is, yeah, it is. Sometimes you need to double refresh the page in order to pick up the forms, but right now it worked. Cool. So I'm gonna just grab it and put it somewhere. Oh, maybe. So yeah, I just added the form to the page. I can preview it, how it looks like. It's not bad. Not good, not bad. Yeah, and one thing that I want to show you also is how actually this form is being integrated into XM Cloud page, because this is interesting. So I'm gonna go to Tools, then to the Content Editor. I'm gonna find my home page, and where I'm on the home page, I will go to the presentation details, to the final layout. And what I would see here, there's no forms like renderings or something like that. Instead, we have the BOC wrapper, right? So if you ever work with XM Cloud, you know that BOC wrapper, this is like the type of component that will allows you to introduce the external component into your XM Cloud pages. So this is kind of a proof that XM Cloud Forms is actually the separate application, right? So there is no connection between those two. All right, so we are actually done with the form. So we can go back to the Sitecore Connect and just very quickly perform the actions that we want, because it's very easy and pleasant to do. So we need to do 3 things. First, we're gonna save the form submission into Google Sheet. And I already prepared the Google Sheet here with 4 columns: email name, destination, type. So I would like to see, after submission, I'd like to see the data being ingested here. So yeah, let's do this. We can use the action, and we have the connection to Google Sheets already. And there are a couple of actions that we can do. And for us, it's going to be add a row to the Google Sheet. The connection I already set up beforehand, so it's basically connected to my test Google account. And the setup that I need to do is just to select a spreadsheet and select the sheet which is form submission. And it will automatically pick up the columns in the first row that I prepared. And all I need to do is just need to match the column to the data that it's coming from the webhook. And if I click on it, there's a nice pop-up so I can see what exactly came from the webhook. I don't need headers, but I need the payload, and I've got the payload here. So for the email, it's going to be an email. For the name, it's going to be a name. For the destination, it's going to be text 1D because I forgot to change this name. And for the type, it's going to be a type. And yeah, that's it. And we are done with this step. So let's go with next action. So actually, we try to create an email, so the subject line and the body using OpenAI. And there is an action for that, pre-built for us, which is draft email. And the connection also already set up. And we just need to give it a prompt to describe what the email should be like. And also I prepared this one already. And it's gonna say, the email descriptions that you are an assistant of a travel agency called Sitecore, generate a personalized welcome email for a new subscriber based on the following data provider in a sign-up form. And all we can do, we just need to pass the data here. So again, I'm going to go to webhook and pass all the payload data and let ChatGPT figure it out for me. And last thing, the very simple step, I'm gonna send this this email to the user. I can use, of course, Sitecore Send for it, but just to simplify, I'm gonna use Gmail. So I'm gonna send an email, then the connection is already set to. I'm gonna get it from the, there's now even suggested input, which is very nice. Then the subject, I need to get it from the OpenAI step output, so the subject line, and the message is a body. Well, actually, that's it. I can set the stop job action here, and our recipe, the automation workflow is ready. So let's try to test it. We don't need to even run it. We can test it from here. So right now it's checking for a new event being triggered, and we're going to trigger this event from our page. So we are on our home page, so I'm going to pass my name. The email, I'm going to get some temp email. The traveler type, let it be adventure seeker again, and Peru again. And I'm going to submit my form. Yeah, it looks like it has been submitted successfully. So let's go back to the Sitecore Connect. Yeah, it looks like it's succeeded. So we can also preview all the steps and see what happened there. And as you can see, the output has been generated in this OpenAI. We have the subject line and the body. Yeah, let's check the Google Sheet, the form submission tab. It looks like it worked. I've got all the data here. And let's take a look at my inbox. It looks like we've got an email. And yeah, it says, welcome to the Site Explorer, your journey to Peru. So yeah, looks like it used the data that I provided. Cool. So that was a demo. Let me go back to the last few slides. So let's talk about limitations, because there are quite a few. I already mentioned a couple of them, the smaller ones, but there are bigger ones, I would say. And the first one is the absence of a language support. So that means that if you have a form, you can't actually make it multilingual. So you can set the different labels for different languages. And the only solution I found for it is just to duplicate the form. You can actually do this, there's a button for it, and make the form in different languages. But it could be a cumbersome process, right? If you have many languages and so on. So hopefully Sitecore will fix it in future release. Another one, lack of ability for customization. So I mentioned that we can't actually create our custom fields, from the code perspective. We can't create our custom layouts from code perspective. But in many cases, I think that this is something that we definitely want to do. So yeah, that would be nice to have as well. The third one, this is the one that I actually found on Sitecore Slack. And one guy said, wow, XM Cloud Forms looks amazing, but it looks like if the user has an access to the XM Cloud instance and automatically has an access to XM Cloud Forms. And so you can't restrict that. So this could be a problem as well. And the last one, from the big one, is that it's not possible to migrate from legacy forms. So if you have a big project with many forms on XP and you are migrating to XM Cloud and you want to migrate forms as well, it's not possible. You just need to create them from scratch, manually. So imagine if you have hundreds or thousands of forms, that's going to be time-consuming for sure. Okay, so to wrap it up, is it game changer or troublemaker? And the answer is obvious. It depends, right? So yeah, I'm gonna explain it anyway. My take on it is that it is a game changer in a way that it's a first form solution from Sitecore that is solely dedicated to the marketers or non-technical users. They can just build the form, put it on the page. Of course, they need to be trained, but they can do this without our developer work at all, which is sad, but yeah, they can do this. And for like smaller projects, when you have like few forms and you know that you are covered with all the fields that you are using with those that are available in XM Cloud Forms, probably this is a good way to go with XM Cloud Forms right now. But if you want to migrate forms, or you know that you need a multilingual support for many forms, for many languages, that could be a troublemaker. So the good news is that this is a SaaS product. So Sitecore keeps improving it, keeps working on it, and we can see like with each release to XM Cloud, we can see some new add-ons to the XM Cloud Forms. So hopefully in a couple of months, maybe years, maybe years, it's gonna be a real game changer for everyone. Cool, thank you. Yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. Thanks.